Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes. To keep in touch with us, use our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, which are all at Q and Review. That's CUEANDREVIEW. Or get in touch via information@qandreview.com. That's information@CUEANDREVIEW.com. Please like and share our podcasts and give us any constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, June 28. Celtic and Rangers in transfer tug-of-war. Report by Aidan Smith. Celtic and Rangers are reportedly in a transfer tug-of-war over Motherwell youngster Bailey Rice. Reports suggest both Glasgow Giants have tabled offers to the Fir Park side for the defender's signature, while there is also Premier League interest from down south. Rice does not turn 16 until later this year, and when he does, he will have the option to sign a professional contract. The Daily Record say both Celtic and Rangers believe the 15-year-old to be a rising star in the Scottish game. Motherwell would likely look for add-ons to be included in Rice's deal if a move was to be completed. Meanwhile, Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou insists he is willing to be patient to get the right players in, as he relishes having a clean pre-season to prepare his squad for their return to the Champions League group stage. The Hoops have been relatively quiet in the transfer market so far, with goalkeeper Ben Siegrist the only new arrival, and Cameron Carter-Vickers having made his loan move from Tottenham permanent. The Celtic players returned to training on Monday to gear up for the new campaign, but with the squad already in good shape compared to last summer, and the first European match not until September, unlike last year when they started in July, Postecoglou is in no major rush to get new additions in. In an interview with Celtic TV, he said, "Last year I was really keen to get people in the building, and we knew we'd have a few leaving as well. So it was a real hectic time. The January window, we worked a little bit more methodically. We knew what we wanted and we got it in early. But I'm not one to rush things. It's about getting the right players in. It's not just about them as players, it's about them as people. For that to happen, we cannot put timelines on things. Obviously, the earlier we can get players in, the better. But we've got a unique scenario of having a clean pre-season without any competitive games, which is a great advantage for us. Apart from strengthening the squad, just being able to work with the group of players we had last season in pre-season is going to be invaluable, because most of them either missed pre-season or we threw them in during the season. Even working with the existing squad over the next 3 or 4 weeks with the coaching staff will be invaluable." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, June 28. Celtic youngster Montgomery set for loan switch. Report by Aidan Smith. Celtic youngster Adam Montgomery is set to complete a loan switch to St Johnstone. The 19-year-old enjoyed some first-team experience with Ange Postecoglou's side last term before heading to Aberdeen in January. He went on to make 8 appearances during his loan stint at Pittodrie, and Hoops Chiefs are now keen for him to add further Premiership minutes away from Parkhead. Callum Davidson is keen to add the versatile Montgomery to his squad as cover for his left side. The Scotland youth international can play either left-back or as a left-sided midfielder. Meanwhile, Saints are set to announce the signing of Graham Carey. The former St Mirren Ross County man had joined the Perth outfit for their pre-season preparations in Murcia in Spain. The 33-year-old has been plying his trade in Bulgaria for the past 3 seasons with CSKA Sofia, but is out of contract at the end of this month. Carey's preferred position is in a number 10 role, and he could provide Saints with a much-needed spark from midfield that they have missed since David Witherspoon picked up a cruciate injury in November last year. Davidson has already added Dre Wright and Andrew Considine to his McDermott Park ranks this window. The Saints boss will look to add further with key first-team stars Sean Rooney, Jamie McCart, Callum Hendry and Xander Clark all departing this summer. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, June 28. Raft of Premiership changes confirmed due to being shown on Sky Sports. Report by Ewan Payton. A raft of Premiership fixtures have been selected to be broadcast live by Sky Sports. The first Old Firm Derby and the Edinburgh Derby are among the games to have their dates changed as a result. Rangers travel to Celtic Park on Saturday, September 3, with the game kicking off at 12:30 p.m. Over in Edinburgh, their big clash between Hibs and Hearts will now take place on Sunday, August 7 at midday. Celtic have also had trips to Kilmarnock and Dundee United put back a day to Sunday, August 14 and Sunday, August 28 respectively. Rangers' game against Hibs at Easter Road will also be shown live on Sunday, August 20, with a kick-off at 12:30 p.m. Sky fixtures in full so far. Saturday, 30th July, Livingston vs Rangers, kick-off 12 p.m. Sunday, 31st July, Celtic vs Aberdeen, 4:30 p.m. Sunday, 7th August, Hibs vs Hearts, 12 p.m. Sunday, 14th August, Kilmarnock vs Celtic, 12 p.m. Saturday, 20th August, Hibs vs Rangers, 12:30 p.m. Sunday, 28th August, Dundee United vs Celtic, 12 p.m. Saturday, 3rd September, Celtic vs Rangers, 12:30 p.m. Sky Sports will show up to 48 live matches from the Scottish Premiership during the 2022-23 season. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, June 28. Rangers remain in striker search. Report by Chris Jack. Rangers remain in discussions with PAOK over a deal for striker Antonio Colac as boss Giovanni van Bronckhorst attempts to bolster his Ibrox attack this summer. The Dutchman saw his side return to pre-season training at Auchenhowie on Monday morning, but former Hearts defender John Souttar is the only new face to have joined up with the Light Blues squad as work continues behind the scenes. Striker Colac has emerged as a prime candidate in recent days, and Rangers are keen to secure an agreement that will bring the 28-year-old to Glasgow ahead of the new campaign. Greek outfit PAOK are standing firm on their valuation for Colac as Ibrox Chiefs seek to do a deal worth more than £2 million for the striker, who helped eliminate them from the Champions League last August with Malmo. Van Bronckhorst has already offloaded Cedric Itten this summer after the Swiss returned to his homeland with young boys earlier this month, and doubts remain over the future of Alfredo Morelos once again this term. Seville are leading the race to sign the Colombian in a potential 8-figure deal, and Rangers will have to decide whether or not to cash in on their talisman forward as he enters the final year of his contract with the club. Adding more goals to the team is one of Van Bronckhorst's priorities ahead of his first full season in charge, and Kolak, who has been capped 3 times by Croatia, has been identified as a key target despite a mixed campaign for PAOK. Rangers will spend the coming days being put through their paces on home soil before Van Bronckhorst takes his side to Portugal for a training camp that is scheduled to culminate with a friendly fixture against Championship side Sunderland. A handful of other pre-season fixtures have also been confirmed as Van Bronckhorst seeks to remodel his Ibrox squad ahead of the first Premiership clash away to Livingston next month, before the crucial Champions League qualifiers begin the following week. Report by Chris Jack. Evening Times Sport, June 28. Gregor Townsend ready to go from B to A with Scotland in Argentina. Report by Stuart Bathgate. It was only on Saturday night that Gregor Townsend announced he had decided on 90% of his squad for the first test against Argentina. In reality, however, he surely reached that position weeks ago. Even before leaving Scotland, the head coach said his plan for the first week in Santiago was for one team to train to face Chile and another to prepare for the Pumas. There will have to be some overlap between the 2 games, with a total of 39 players in the squad, at least 7 who saw action in the A-team's 45-5 win against the Condors will be in the 23 this weekend. Nonetheless, that separation into 2 groups was a clear indication that Townsend has a very firm idea of how he wants Scotland to line up for the opening match in the 3-test series, which takes place this Saturday in Juju. That 90% translates to 20 or 21 members of the matchday squad, leaving just 2 or 3 places in dispute. The coach suggested that the remaining areas of doubt are largely on the bench, and it is probable that the 2 questions are at fullback and in the back row. Stuart Hogg, the most significant absentee this summer, along with Finn Russell and Chris Harris, has been such a dominant figure in the number 15 jersey over recent seasons that he has no obvious replacement. Ollie Smith, the only specialist in the position among the tour party, acquitted himself well enough against Chile, but the selectors may decide that the uncapped Glasgow back is too inexperienced to throw straight into the first test. Blair Kinghorn, of course, has ample experience in the position, but looks sure to be Townsend's starting 10. Ross Thompson has been the last line of defence for the Warriors, but is on tour as backup at standoff to Kinghorn, while Darcy Graham has also filled in at 15, but will be needed on the wing. Which leaves Damien Hoyland, Kyle Rowe and Rory Hutchinson. 5 years have passed since Edinburgh's Hoyland won the last of his 4 caps to date, but, as his hat-trick in Santiago suggested, he has come into the tour fresh and in form after being out with injury for a few months earlier in the year. He played on the wing against Chile, but can slot in at full-back without difficulty. London Irish winger Rowe was named by Townsend as a possible full-back before the tour and has enjoyed an excellent season with the Exiles. Hutchinson's primary position is outside centre, where he will rival Mark Bennett for a starting place, but he has the pace to play in the back three and has also seen action at 10. If Hoyland or Rowe start, Hutchinson would be a valuable addition to the bench. In fact, given his versatility, his selection could mean no room for Thompson in the 23, with a third back's replacement, possibly Sloan Tupolutu coming in alongside either of the backup scrum halves, Ben White or George Horne. In the back row, there are 4 who played no part against Chile. Blindside Sam Skinner, open sides Hamish Watson and Rory Darge, and number 8 Andy Christie. Matt Fagerson will come into the equation too, having played for the first time at the weekend since recovering from injury. Fagerson's Glasgow teammate Scott Cummings also made his comeback from injury against Chile and will be in contention for a place on the bench this weekend. In the front row, Xander Fagerson's name is inked in at tight head prop as heavily as anyone's in the team. It is a slightly different matter at loose head, where both Pierre Shulman and Rory Sutherland are sure to feature, although which one starts is by no means certain. At hooker, meanwhile, much depends on whether George Turner is past fit. The Glasgow man was unable to travel with the squad because of illness and is set to spend the next few days in training trying to get back up to speed. If he does so, he could start, but otherwise Ewan Ashman is poised to take the number 2 jersey. In short, the Scotland line-up against Argentina should be close to the following: Rowe, Graham, Bennett, Johnson, van der Merwe, Kinghorn, Price, Showman, Turner, Fagerson, Gray, Gilchrist as captain, Skinner, Watson, Christie. Substitutes: Ashman, Sutherland, Sebastian, Cummings, Darge, White, Hutchinson, Tupolutu. The Pumas, 8th in the world rankings to Scotland's 7th, will be favourites to win the series, but a team above the lines has the dynamism and attacking ability that will be needed to upset the odds and get the tourists off to a winning start in the series, says Stuart Bathgate. Evening Time Sport, June 28. SPFL announce record prize money for this season's Premier Sports Cup. Report by Aidan Smith. The SPFL have today announced a record prize money of over £2.1 million for the 2022-23 Premier Sports Cup. Each club participating in this season's competition is guaranteed to receive at least £22,000, while the winner will earn £350,000 in prize money, with further sums available as facility fee payments for all live televised matches. The total prize money that will be shared with clubs for the upcoming Premier Sports Cup competition will amount to £2,157,000, a rise of nearly £150,000 from last season's figure of £2,015,000. Neil Doncaster, Chief Executive of the SPFL, said, "We are delighted to announce record prize money in this season's Premier Sports Cup. Premier Sports have been fantastic supporters of our Premier Cup competition. Their investment into the Cup has allowed us to announce record prize money this season, and these funds will continue to support our clubs as they recover from the pandemic. With the first round group stage kicking off on 9th of July, we are very much looking forward to another year of passion, drama and excitement in this season's Premier Sports Cup live on Premier Sports. Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, June 29. Tennis. Andy Murray to team up in Laver Cup. Report by James Kearney. Andy Murray will feature alongside Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal after committing to play the Laver Cup in London later this year. Three-time Grand Slam champion Murray will represent Team Europe as they take on Team World at the O2 Arena in September. The competition, similar to the old Davis Cup style, sees the 6 players from either side go head-to-head over the course of singles and doubles matches. Murray said, "I am looking forward to playing the Laver Cup in London. I love playing as part of a team, and there is a great atmosphere and intensity to the event. I've heard lots of good things, and I am excited to be teaming up with both Roger and Rafa for Team Europe." Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, June 29. Jamie Chadwick not sure women can cope with extremely physical Formula One. W-Series champion Jamie Chadwick has questioned whether female drivers are physically able to compete in Formula One. Chadwick is the dominant force of the all-female racing series, established in 2019 to serve as a springboard to Formula One. The 24-year-old is bidding to take her 6th successive victory on Formula One's undercard at the British Grand Prix this weekend, as she chases a hat-trick of titles. But it has been 46 years since a female competitor, the Italian Leila Lombardi, took part in a Formula One race, and 8 years since Susie Wolff, who is married to Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff, competed in a Grand Prix practice session. British driver Chadwick told the PA news agency, "I have set myself a goal of competing in Formula One, but I don't know what is actually possible. To get into Formula One, you have to go through the feeder series, Formula 3 and Formula 2, and it is extremely physical. Formula One is extremely physical, and we don't know exactly what women are capable of in the sport. If you are age 15 or 16 and go into car racing without power steering and driving big heavy cars, a lot of women do struggle, even though they have been successful in go-karting. We like to think that women can make it, and I am happy to be the guinea pig and will do my best to push and explore the options to Formula One, but we don't know. There hasn't been a woman in the recent era that has done it. I am trying to understand whether that is to do with the physical side of it. If it is physically possible, and women can compete against men, how do we make that happen? However, if it is physically too hard, but the sport wants women to compete, then we have got to bring it back and understand why. Chadwick, a development driver for Williams, believes a number of technical changes need to be made to aid female racers. She continued, "I don't think it is just as straightforward as getting stronger in the gym and jumping in the car. Although our sport is incredibly advanced with a lot of things, the physical human performance side is misunderstood. In Formula 2 and Formula 3, the steering wheels are all identical, and they have a thick grip. How can we make them thinner, because women's hands are not necessarily that big? How can we make sure there are no restrictions on how close the pedals are so you can get the right leverage? And some of the newer tubs in the cockpit are really narrow. Women with bigger hips cannot fit into them comfortably. A lot of these things have been overlooked for obvious reasons, but now we need to see whether that does make a difference to performance. Chadwick holds a 37-point lead over compatriot Abby Pooling ahead of the third round of 8, all of which take place on Formula One weekends. Concluded Chadwick, I would like to think in the next 3 to 4 years we will see a female driver in Formula One. There is a lot of talent that is younger than me coming through that could have great success, but there are details within the sport that have been a limiting factor previously. Trying to understand those and changing them, even if that is not for me but for the next generation coming through, is going to be important. Report from Press Association. Evening Times Sport, June 29. Christopher Julian closes in on Schalke switch. Report by James Kearney. Celtic defender Christopher Julian is closing in on a move to Schalke, with the deal expected to be finished today. The French centre-half has slipped down the Parkhead pecking order since Ange Postecoglou took the reins of the Glasgow club last summer and barely featured at all last term as he continued his recovery from injury. The 29-year-old, who joined Celtic in a £7 million move from Toulouse in 2019, is currently undergoing a medical with Schalke, and the deal is set to go through within the next 24 hours, according to transfer insider Fabrizio Romano. The Sky Sports transfer guru reports that the centre-half will join the German giants on loan for the 2022-23 campaign, with the Bundesliga outfit including an option to buy the centre-half for a predetermined fee in the deal. Romano added that Julian is currently undergoing a medical and will put pen to paper on the contract once it has been completed. Report by James Kearney. Evening Times Sport, June 29. Rangers Colac bid rejected. Report by David Irvin. Rangers have had an improved transfer bid for Antonio Colac rejected, according to reports. It was claimed Rangers had upped their offer for the striker to £2 million plus add-ons. However, it is now reported that PAOK have booted out the offer and are standing firm for a £2.5 million fee. Greek journalist for Sport Time claims Rangers have had a new bid rejected by PAOK for Antonio Colac. According to many reports, new offer was €2.3 million plus add-ons. PAOK demands €3 million. It is believed that the Ibrox club want to sign the 28-year-old to bolster their attacking options ahead of the new season. Colac hit a double against Rangers last August to knock Rangers out of the Champions League qualifiers during a loan spell with Malmo. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, June 29. Supercomputer makes Celtic vs Rangers title prediction. Report by Aidan Smith. As players return to pre-season and transfer deals get wrapped up, the latest Scottish Premiership predictions have revealed that Celtic will defend their crown, beating Rangers, who are predicted to finish second. The supercomputer prediction via bonus code bets has been forecast using a range of informative outright odds markets to formulate what the final table will look like. Hearts will complete the top three to finish third ahead of Hibs, who are forecast to finish fourth. At the bottom end of the division, Ross County are predicted to prop up the table and finish last, with St Mirren facing the prospect of the relegation play-off by finishing 11th. St Johnstone rode their luck in the relegation play-off last year, but will avoid similar peril and will finish 2 places higher in 9th this term. Aberdeen will improve from last year's disappointment to finish 5th, while Motherwell drop out of future Europa Conference contention with a 6th place finish. Dundee United will finish 7th above Livingston 8th and newly promoted Kilmarnock 10th. A bonus Cod Bets spokesperson said, "It's set to be more joy for the green half of Glasgow next year, as our latest predictions have revealed Celtic will beat Rangers to the title yet again. Meanwhile, there could be trouble ahead for St Mirren and Ross County, while St Johnstone will avoid any drama late in the season after surviving by the skin of their teeth last campaign." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Jim Goodwin confident to hold on to Connor Barron amid Celtic interest. Jim Goodwin believes that Connor Barron will sign a new contract at Aberdeen, providing everyone involved in the negotiations remains sensible. The Dons are keen to tie the talented youngster down to new and improved terms off the back of his impressive breakthrough campaign last season. Celtic have been linked with a move for the 19-year-old, while Italian sides Bologna and Sassuolo are also keeping tabs on his situation. Barron signed new terms at Pittodrie in January, but Goodwin believes the teenager deserves a financial reward for his performances in the second half of the season. The Aberdeen manager said, "Negotiations are ongoing. We are in quite a safe place at the moment with that one, as Connor has a couple of years left. Both Connor and his family realise the opportunity that has been given here at Aberdeen. In my experience, those kinds of negotiations with young players coming through the academy are never too difficult. Connor deserves to be rewarded financially off the back of his good performances last year, and the club are just doing what any other club would do in terms of protecting its assets. It should be a win-win for everybody, and it should be done pretty smoothly if everybody is sensible about the negotiation process." Aberdeen have been in Spain this week for a pre-season training camp at the luxury La Finca resort. Having finished 10th last season, Goodwin hopes the Costa Blanca expedition can be a springboard for a more successful campaign this time around. He said, "Obviously, pre-season trips are about hard work, as it is the time of year where you have to get the boys fit and up to speed. But the real benefit of coming away and spending a large period of time together is that you get to spend more time with each other in trying to generate that togetherness and team spirit. Normally, if we're back in Aberdeen, we would do the training session together, maybe have lunch together, and then the boys would go home. At least here we can be in each other's pockets and really get to know one another. It is also a really good opportunity to integrate the new guys." Evening Times Sport, June 30. Andy Murray confident of future Grand Slam runs. Andy Murray remains convinced he can still challenge at the Grand Slams, despite suffering his earliest Wimbledon exit. The former world number one admits his injury problems since coming back from career-saving hip surgery mean he cannot offer any guarantees that he will be back for another crack next year. Murray, the two-time champion, failed to reach the third round at SW19 for the first time after a 4-set defeat by big serving American John Isner on centre court. However, 35-year-old Murray insists he still has what it takes to mix it with the elite at the major tournaments, fitness permitting. Said the Scot, "Has my opinion changed based on this match? No. I think most of the players on the tour would tell you that a match like that was won or lost based on a few points here and there. I did not play well enough on those points. I certainly did not serve well enough at the beginning of the match, which I think is understandable. He's a difficult opponent to play against. I don't see why it should change that view really." Murray, who made his Wimbledon debut in 2005, wants to return to the scene of his greatest triumphs next year. But he added, "It depends on how I am physically. If physically I feel good, then we'll try to keep playing. But it's extremely difficult with the problems I've had with my body in the last few years to make long-term predictions about how I'm going to be even in a few weeks' time, never mind in a year's time. If physically I'm in a good place, yes, I will continue to play. But it's not easy to keep my body in optimal condition to compete at the highest level." Evening Times Sport, June 30. Celtic sign Alessandro Bernabe. Report by Ewan Payton. Celtic have signed defender Alessandro Bernabe, who has put pen to paper on a 5-year contract subject to international clearance. The 21-year-old joins the Scottish champions from Lanús in Argentina in a £3.75 million deal. It has been no secret that a move to Glasgow has been in the pipeline for some time, and last week he paid an emotional farewell to his Lanús teammates. The left-back was then spotted at Glasgow Airport, having made the long-haul trip from South America. Now his signing has been confirmed, as Ange Postecoglou secures another addition to his squad this summer. On the move, he commented, "I am very happy to be here, and I feel grateful to the club for giving me this opportunity. I feel proud to be playing in Europe because it was one of my dreams, and I am excited to train with and play with my new teammates. The stadium is just incredible. The people, the club, teammates, and the coaching staff are all incredible. I am very excited and happy, and I cannot wait to be playing in the Champions League. I have heard that the people are crazy, so I can't wait to sense that feeling and emotion in Celtic Park." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, June 30th. Scotland star Gilmour does have a future at Chelsea. Report by Ewan Payton. Billy Gilmour's challenging experience at Norwich should see him return to Chelsea stronger. That's the view of Stamford Bridge hero Gus Poyet. The Scotland star endured a difficult time at Carrow Road last term, playing in a side which was relegated straight back to the Championship. While he got more Premier League minutes under his belt, the 20-year-old midfielder often found himself on the bench and came under some hefty criticism from Norwich fans at points in the season. He recently extended his contract at Chelsea after the European giants triggered a clause in his deal. He will return for pre-season training with the rest of his teammates next week, with Thomas Tuchel believed to be keen to cast his eye over the Scot. Poyet reckons Gilmour does have a future at the club, but his consistency levels have to be there in order for that to happen. He said, Gilmour has gone out on loan, didn't play a lot, but now he's back and hopefully he's a better player, more mature, and because he experienced relegation with Norwich, hopefully that will make him stronger, and then maybe Thomas Tuchel will give him a chance. Gilmour is a good player, everyone knows that, and we all know what he can do with the ball. It's just a question of whether he can perform week in, week out. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Jota back in Glasgow. Report by David Irvin. Jota is reportedly in Glasgow and ready to complete a permanent transfer switch to Celtic. The Portuguese winger made himself an instant fan favourite during his loan spell from Benfica last season, and Celtic fans have been desperately hoping a permanent deal is just around the corner. The club hold the right to sign the 23-year-old winger for around £6.4 million as part of the loan deal, and it's expected Jota will pen a permanent move to Celtic after an extended summer break. We previously told that the move was placed on hold as the winger enjoyed holidays during the off-season, but a deal was still ready to be completed. Now Football Scotland claim Jota is back in Glasgow to put the finishing touches on his permanent transfer to Celtic. It would be another major boost to Ange Postecoglou this summer, with Cameron Carter-Vickers making his loan permanent and Benji Siegrist joining the goalkeeping ranks. This morning, Alessandro Bernabé was announced as the latest addition to the Parkhead squad in a £3.75 million move from Argentine club Lanús. And according to reports, Jota could be the next player through the doors at Celtic Park, with a move close to completion. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Christopher Julian returns to Glasgow as proposed deal falls through. Report by David Irvin. Christopher Julian has returned to Glasgow as reports emerged claiming a proposed deal between Schalke and Celtic has fallen through. The 29-year-old French defender returned from injury last season, but rarely featured on his comeback under Ange Postecoglou. Julian made just one appearance last term against Raith Rovers in the Premier Sports Cup after returning from a long-term knee injury. The stopper had flown to Germany for a medical with Schalke ahead of a proposed move to the Bundesliga club. However, after a medical and further talks with the club, Julian has returned to Glasgow after failing to agree personal terms with Schalke. Commentator Derek Ray explained on Twitter, Christopher Julian has flown back to Glasgow. The proposed deal between Schalke and Celtic appears to have fallen through. As mentioned yesterday, extensive athletic and medical checks, and there still were outstanding conversations to be had. It was these final conversations that proved the death knell for the deal. The clubs had agreed, but Schalke and the player ultimately could not come together on terms. Transfer insider Fabrizio Romano added, no agreement between Julian and Schalke on personal terms after the medical tests. He already has come back to Glasgow. Celtic will now negotiate with other clubs to find a solution. A deal still to open. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Polish star can come good as Rangers right back. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Mateusz Zukowski took to Twitter earlier this week to post a picture of himself in training at Auchenhowie and expressed his delight at being back in Glasgow for pre-season with Rangers. But it is fair to say the Polish right-back will be far happier when he gets an extended run in the Ibrox club's first team. It was always going to be difficult for the promising 20-year-old defender, a £400,000 capture from Lechia Gdansk back in January, to displace captain James Tabarny last term. The Glasgow Giants were bidding to retain the singed Premiership title, progress further in the Europa League, and lift the Scottish Cup when he arrived. Zukowski found, just like Nathan Patterson, the Scotland international, who was brought in to replace, had before him, game time difficult to come by in the 2021-22 campaign. The Polish under-21 cap made just one competitive appearance in a 3-0 win over part-time Annan Athletic in a cup game in February. He will then be keen to feature far more frequently for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's side in the months ahead. His countryman, Dariusz Adamczuk, knows only too well how tough that will be from personal experience. The only other Pole to don a light blue jersey moved on in his third season in Govan after being frozen out of the first team. But Adamczuk, who helped Dick Advocate's men to lift the Scottish title and reach the Champions League group stages during his time at Rangers, thinks that his young compatriot can justify his signing in the future with the help of his old teammate Van Bronckhorst. Now sporting director at Ekstraklasa outfit Pogoń Szczecin in his homeland, he feels the former Feyenoord, Arsenal, Barcelona and Netherlands defender come midfielder is the perfect man to improve the weaknesses in Zukowski's game. He said, "I knew Matthias before he signed for Rangers. He used to play as a winger for Lechia Gdansk and the Polish age group teams. When he moved up to the first team at Gdansk, the coach converted him into a right back, a full back. He is a player who is able to get forward, to overlap. He is strong going forward, but I think that he needs to improve in one-on-one situations in defence in order to establish himself there. I can remember in one game that we played against Lechia Gdansk at the end of last year, just before he joined Rangers. We beat them 5-1, and Kamil Grosicki, the Polish player, gave him a difficult 90 minutes. In fact, he destroyed him. It was a little bit of a surprise to me that he moved to Rangers, because they are a top team who do well in Europe. Having said that, I do like Matthias. In fact, he reminds me a little bit of myself when I was a player, only he is a little bit taller. I would say he is a player with great potential. Moving to Glasgow Rangers is a good decision by every player, but he needs time to adapt, not to the Premiership, because the Scottish top flight is not the greatest league in Europe, but to the demands of Rangers. If he wants to play international football for the Polish side, he needs to improve for sure. He has played for the under-21 team, but he has not been a starter for that side. Maybe being at Rangers will help him jump to the first 11. It is a long time, nearly 30 years, since I first moved to Scotland and joined Dundee, but I remember how the style of play in your country suited me. It was very physical and was perfect for my game. I like to work hard and fight for every ball. Having said that, my first season in Scotland was very hard, but after that it was very, very good. In Poland we have 2 pre-seasons, in summer and in winter. In Scotland you just had one in the summer. I found that hard. After training I would just go home and sleep. But I think Scottish football has changed quite a bit. I sometimes watch Rangers in Europe, and I think they have very good quality and play with a nice style. Matthews has to improve aspects of his game in order to fit in. Zukowski is quite big for a fullback, for a winger. He is 6 foot tall. He will not be troubled by the physical side of the Scottish game, but for me he is still young and needs to improve his technique, particularly in defence. When he played against experienced wingers, against quick and skillful players in Poland, he had some problems. But he is dangerous going forward, a good box-to-box player. There are great strengths to his game that he can add to. Adamczuk played alongside Van Bronckhorst in the 2-1 aggregate win over Parma that helped Rangers qualify for the Champions League group stages in the 1999-2000 season, and then in an epic double-header against Borussia Dortmund in the UEFA Cup that ended with the Ibrox club losing on penalties. He was struck by the Dutchman's ability and intelligence during that time, and has not been surprised the former Champions League winner and World Cup finalist has done so well since hanging up his boots and moving into coaching. The 52-year-old, who won 11 caps for Poland during his playing career and won a silver medal with his national team at the Olympic Games in Barcelona in 1992, is optimistic that Zukowski will flourish under his fellow fullback. He said, "It will help Matthews to work with a coach who played as a fullback at a very high level with both his club and his country. Giovanni was a very technical player. He played in Holland, Scotland, England and Spain as a fullback as well as a left winger. For sure he will be good for Matthews. I know that I enjoyed playing with Giovanni when I was at Rangers. He was a very smart player and a good guy in the dressing room as well. He has a lot of experience as a coach, having managed at Feyenoord and now at Rangers. There could be nobody better for Matthews." Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Rangers Champions League group stage qualification chances rated in coefficient simulation. Report by David Irvin. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is aiming to guide Rangers through the Champions League qualifying rounds to earn a spot in the group stage of Europe's elite competition. The Ibrox boss knows his side will have to go through the third qualifying round and play-off round in the Champions League to join Celtic in the group stage. And it's already between 5 clubs for who Rangers could face in the third qualifying round, with any of FC Midtjylland or AEK Larnaca, Monaco, Storm Graz and Union San-Gilloise potential opponents. Rangers entered the competition as a seeded team in League Path, in theory offering an easier draw than unseeded teams. Now new data has analysed Rangers' chances of advancing to the Champions League group stage or falling into the Europa League or Europa Conference League group stages. A detailed simulation using club coefficient and the ELO rating has predicted the chances of Rangers navigating the qualifiers in the Champions League and beyond. According to the data shared on Swiss Football Data and compiled by user Elgia, Rangers have a 37.8% chance of Champions League group stage football, and should they fail to qualify, Van Bronckhorst's side are backed by 62.2% chance of making the Europa League group stage through the play-off. UEFA qualification rules mean Rangers are guaranteed group stage football in one of the three competitions, but the simulation predicts either Champions League or Europa League group stage qualification. Rangers will first compete in the Champions League third qualifying round, with a spot in the Champions League play-off up for grabs. A win there would earn a spot in the group stage. However, a loss in the play-off would see Rangers drop into the Europa League group stage. A loss in the Champions League third qualifying round would see Rangers fall into the Europa League play-off round, with the winners of that match into the Europa League groups, and the loser drop into the Europa Conference League group stage. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, June 30. Defiant Lee Westwood does not believe playing in LIV should harm Ryder Cup hopes. A defiant Lee Westwood does not believe his Ryder Cup chances should be threatened by his decision to sign up to the LIV Golf Invitational Series. Last week, the DP World Tour fined each of the 17 players who played in the Saudi-backed venture's first event in Hertfordshire earlier this month £100,000 and banned them from next week's Scottish Open. It was accompanied by the threat of additional sanctions for further participation, and while a Ryder Cup ban has not been publicly mentioned as a punishment, it remains an option open to the DP World Tour. But Westwood, who along with the other rebels will tee it up in the second of the 8-event series at Pumpkin Ridge in Oregon on Thursday, that's today, believes that should not be the case. Why should it be threatened? Europe's joint record holder for appearances told a press conference. I have been playing Ryder Cup golf since 1997, and the criteria has been to be a member of the European Tour, which is now the DP World Tour. I have been a member of the PGA Tour and still played 4 events on the European Tour. And why would the European Tour change their rules so dramatically because another tour does not like it or feels financially threatened? As long as you fulfill the criteria to be a European Tour member, then you should still have the opportunity to try and qualify for the Ryder Cup team. Westwood's Ryder Cup teammate Sergio Garcia, the competition's all-time leading point scorer, had a more pragmatic view. Asked whether he thought there was a risk to his decision to sign up, he said, "Yes, I guess there was. You never knew how everyone was going to act. Obviously you were hoping that it wouldn't change. We still hope that it won't affect it. I hope that I still have the possibility, as I am sure they do, our fellow hopefuls, to be a part of a few more Ryder Cup teams. But that's not going to depend on us now. We'll just keep our fingers crossed." The DP World Tour chose not to follow the example of the PGA Tour, which issued outright bans to all their events for LIV golfers, but Westwood still objected to the lesser punishment he received. And he added, "I personally am disappointed with the European Tour's approach. I've been a European Tour member for 29 years, and for some of those years I have also been a member of the PGA Tour, and as long as I've played my 4 events, the European Tour have not had a problem with me playing anywhere else, and now it seems to be a problem. As far as fines and sanctions, I am disappointed."
From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, Arthur Boric wades into explosive row between Legia Warsaw and fans over Celtic farewell game prices. By Mark Walker. Arthur Boric is set to go out with a bang after he waded into an explosive row between Legia Warsaw and his own fans over prices for his farewell game against Celtic, with only 3,000 tickets snapped up. The Hoops will travel to Poland on July the 20th after being invited for a special friendly in honour of the 42-year-old who retired at the end of last season. In what turned out to be his final game, he was sent off for attacking Warta Poznan player David Shikamovich after he impeded him from kicking the ball up the park. He then shoved a cameraman who was filming him walking off the pitch, and the Polish FA banned him for 3 games and fined him £5,000, which he refused to pay, and subsequently never got to say his farewells in a competitive match. Legia have arranged a match to pay tribute to Boric, who won 6 major honours at Celtic in a 5-year spell before being transferred to Fiorentina 12 years ago. However, their own supporter club have lashed out at them for what they claim are excessive ticket prices, set at prices up to £25, which is more than they charged for the Europa League group stages last season. The Legia fans stated, "We note the ticket prices for Artur Boric's game against Celtic with astonishment and embarrassment. It's as if the previous season has been wiped from the memory of those who run the club. No apologies, no explanations, and hiding their heads in the sand. They had a chance of honouring Artur with a full stadium, but nothing. The people in charge of our club are able to spoil everything. The desire to feed on the fans' great sympathy for Artur Boric is embarrassing and is below the belt." Following the criticism, Boric then offered his own take on the row in a specially recorded message on social media. He said, "I want to quickly end this ticket and price scandal. I just want to make one thing clear. There is no expletive deleted, need to explain. If you want, come to the game. I cordially invite you. If not, thank you. Have fun at home." And that article was by Mark Walker. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, Premier League giants in talks to join Sydney Super Cup as Rangers replacements. By Ewan Payton. The organisers of the Sydney Super Cup look to have found a replacement team to fill the gap left by Rangers. Celtic will take part in the 4-team tournament Down Under this November during the domestic World Cup break. They will be joined by Sydney FC and Western Sydney Wanderers in the friendly setup. They were due to be joined by Rangers, with the game billed as the first ever Old Firm derby staged abroad. However, it proved highly controversial among the Gerrards faithful, and so club bosses pulled their participation from the competition. Now it seems that a Premier League side are set to join. Celtic could come up against Everton in Sydney, with reports stating that Frank Lampard's side are in talks to become the replacement team. Kick360 says the EPL outfit are in discussions to join the tournament. And that article was by Ewan Payton. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, JT Poston completes wire-to-wire victory at John Deere Classic. JT Poston held his nerve on Sunday to complete a wire-to-wire victory at the John Deere Classic in Illinois. The 29-year-old American carded a 269 in the 4th round, his worst score of the tournament, but held on to claim his second PGA Tour title by 2 shots from runners-up Christian Benzudigenhout and Emiliano Grillo. Speaking after his win, Poston said, "It's just tough to play with a lead. It's a little bit of added pressure wire to wire. I pretty much had the lead since Thursday. I told all the media after every round that I was just trying to stick to my game plan, but the truth is it's hard not to think about the finish line and all that comes with getting a win. As much as you try putting all of that aside, it's tough not to." England's Callum Tarrant was in a position to make a move at the start of the final round, but bogeyed 2 of his last 4 holes en route to a 1 under 70 as he was forced to settle for equal 6th place. And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, Leeds and England midfielder Calvin Phillips completes Manchester City switch. Manchester City have completed the signing of midfielder Calvin Phillips from Leeds on a 6-year contract, the Premier League champions have announced. City agreed a basic fee of £42 million with Leeds for the England international last month, with a potential £3 million in added bonuses. Phillips, who came through the youth ranks at Leeds, switches to the Etihad Stadium after making 235 appearances for his hometown club over the past 8 seasons. Phillips said, "I am absolutely delighted to have joined Manchester City. City have again proved to be the best team in the country with an amazing squad, and a manager in Pep Guardiola who is rightly considered to be the finest in the world. To be able to play under Pep and learn from him and his coaching staff, as well as be part of such a fantastic squad, is a prospect I am incredibly excited about. City are a world-class club with world-class staff and facilities, and it's a dream come true to have joined the club." Phillips is City's 4th new arrival of the summer, after the signings of Erling Haaland, Stefan Ortega Moreno and Julian Alvarez. Phillips rose to prominence as Leeds won the promotion to the Premier League in 2020 and went on to establish himself in the top flight. He then played a key role for England as they reached the final of Euro 2020 last year. City Director of Football, Tikisi Bergenstein, said, "We're absolutely delighted to be able to welcome Calvin to Manchester City. He is a player that we have long admired, and at both domestic and international level, he has proved his fantastic ability and quality over the past few seasons. We feel he will be a superb addition to our squad, and that he will complement our game perfectly." The move was also confirmed by Leeds, who thanked Phillips for his long service. A statement read, "No words can thank Calvin enough for his efforts whilst at the club, and we wish him nothing but success in the future. Calvin inspired so many people in the city, not for what he did on the pitch, but also for the work he did in the local community. He will always be a champion in Leeds, remembered for playing his part in getting the club back to where it belongs, and will always be welcome at Elland Road." Phillips issued a further statement in which he paid tribute to Leeds, particularly managers Marcelo Bielsa and Jesse Marsh, and the fans. He described Leeds as one of the best clubs on earth, and that playing for them was a dream and a privilege. He wrote, "I cannot mention Leeds without mentioning one special person, Marcelo. The best manager I have ever come across. He was a man that gave the club life. He gave the players and everyone involved in the club belief that we were good enough to return to the Premier League after 16 years. And now to Jesse, what an unbelievable manager you are, but what an even better person. You came into this club and gave every single player confidence and belief in a very difficult season, and that's what kept us in the league. To the supporters," he added, "I hope you guys understand my decision and will accept that I only want to chase my dreams and test myself against and with the best teams and the best players on the planet. As a young kid I had so many dreams and still do, but playing for you was the one I will never forget. You're the best fans in the world." Leeds later announced the arrival of midfielder Darko Giabi from City from an undisclosed fee on a 4-year deal, and that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, Rangers braced for Joe Aribo and Calvin Bassey African Cup of Nations battle, with Ibrox stars set for mid-season absence, by Mark Walker. Rangers could face another club v country battle next season after the African Cup of Nations was switched from the summer to another January tournament. Ibrox ace Joe Aribo starred for Nigeria at AFCON last season in Cameroon, and although Calvin Bassey was surprisingly snubbed by the Super Eagles for the tournament, he's now one of their key players following an outstanding season for Europa League runners-up, Rangers. The next tournament in Ivory Coast was finally set to be switched from their usual mid-season slot until summer of next year because of continued complaints from top European clubs at losing their players for a chunk of the campaign. However, the Confederation of African Football have now delayed it until January 2024, because June is the height of the rainy season in Ivory Coast. The association's president, Patrice Motsepe, said, "We cannot take the risk. January is not the ideal time because of the European clubs, but it's the only choice we have. The choice has been made out of courtesy with our Ivorian organisers." Aribo's stint at the African Cup of Nations was part of his marathon 70-game season for club and country. He was one of 3 Scottish placed players at last season's tournament, along with Hamilton's David Moyo for Zimbabwe and Alloa defender Fernando Mendy, who was called up for Guinea-Bissau. And that piece was by Mark Walker. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section, Rangers icon Ali McCoist pays emotional tribute to late friend Andy Gorham, by Ewan Payton. Ali McCoist has paid an emotional tribute to his late friend Andy Gorham. The Rangers icon sadly passed away at the weekend after a short battle with cancer. The goalie, 58, revealed he has been diagnosed with the disease in April this year. On Saturday, he tragically lost his battle with the illness as tributes flooded in from across the football community. McCoist was with the ex-Scotland internationals as he tragically died, as he supported Gorham in his final moments. And McCoist saluted Gorham for his immense bravery shown throughout his battle. He told TalkSport, "Andy got the news 10 weeks ago that he'd been diagnosed with an incurable cancer. He was given 6 months. The speed of it has been absolutely frightening. However, having gone to see him on a regular basis, first of all at the hospital in Wishaw, East Kilbride, eventually the hospice in Airdrie. First of all, I would like to thank everybody who looked after Andy. These girls and guys in these places are absolutely remarkable, the job they do. I was there on Saturday morning when Bomber Brown, the 2 of us were at his side when he passed, with his son Danny and his ex-wife Miriam. It was absolutely tragic. However, we were all taking great courage from the fact his bravery was absolutely incredible. I kept coming back to saying to the boys when I was on the phone to them, whoever it may be, I thought the goalie was actually in a state of shock with the news, which would be understandable, but he actually wasn't in a state of shock. It was a remarkable bravery like I've never seen in my life before. He never changed, and the whole thing never changed, so it wasn't shock, it was just a bravery. He's come to this horrendous illness, and we are all absolutely in no doubt that he's free from pain and in a far better place. He was a pal, he was the best goalie I've ever played with, he was absolutely unbelievable as a goalkeeper, and I would have to tell you he was one hell of a man. He had a bit of everything in his makeup, and it is a sad, sad loss and tragically taken away far too soon. 58 is not an age at all. We will all miss him desperately. And that piece was by Ewan Payton. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 4th of July 2022, from the sports section. Southampton to test Rangers transfer resolve with Joe Aribo bid. By Ewan Payton, sports writer. Rangers transfer resolve over the future of Joe Aribo is set to be tested soon, according to a report. It's been said that the Ibrox club will receive an offer for the attacking midfielder in the coming weeks. The Daily Record reports that Southampton have emerged as frontrunners to sign the Nigerian star. They say that the Premier League side are weighing up a move, with Aribo out of contract in 12 months' time. Saints are believed to have been interested in Aribo for some time, with Crystal Palace, Fulham and Nottingham Forest all linked with the 25-year-old too. The player could walk away from Ibrox for nothing in the summer if he stays. So if Southampton or any of their rivals were to make a bid in this window, Rangers will have a decision to make. Ex-Aston Villa striker Gabriel Bonglahor is quoted in a piece stating he expects to see some firm interest in Aribo this summer. He said, "There will be clubs interested in Joe Aribo. If there is a £10 million release clause, I'm sure that will be met because of what he showed in the Europa League final with his goal. Every time I watched him over the last couple of seasons, he's been a player that stood out for me. He's very comfortable in the ball, always shows that work rate, and can play a number of positions. He's a top player who Rangers will not want to lose, definitely." And that article is by Ewan Payton.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times Sport podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes with the publisher's kind permission. Thanks for listening.